Okay, good morning, everyone. This is the Tucson Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, November 17th, 2022, called to order at 9:03 a.m. And in lieu of roll call, I will just say Terry Majewski is here, Savannah McDonald,
Here.
Jen Mulder,
Here.
Ricky Riojas,
Here.
Joel Ireland,
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, it says Carol just joined too.
and Carol's joining. Okay, and Carol Griffith.
Some issues getting on.
Great, thanks. Okay, so we have a full quorum of 6. Item 2 is approval of the legal action report / minutes for the meeting of November 10th, 2022. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please?
So moved, this Joel.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
This is Rick.
Carol.
We'll do Carol. Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, I'll call roll. Terry says aye. Savannah,
Aye.
Joel,
Aye.
Jan,
Aye.
Ricky.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
Great, thank you. It passes unanimously 6-0. Okay, now we'll go on to item 3, which is historic preservation zone review cases that we review under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0.0 Historic District Design Guidelines and Revised Secretary of the Interior Standard and Guidelines. The first case, 3A, is HPZ 22071 at 626 North 6th Avenue. This is the replacement of 8 windows and garage door. It's a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource. Jody, would you like to give background?
Sure. This project was heard by the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board on September 20th, and the project was, after some discussion, approved as presented.
Okay, and Jody, what was the date of their meeting?
September 20th.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay, and who's here to present?
Oh,
Wait, this is Jan. I have a question. The minutes that Jody posted didn't say that.
actually, they did a second page. Sorry, let me clarify that. The motion to approve with the following exceptions: the vinyl windows are to be put with an acceptable material allowed in the guidelines, as well as the windows that have been altered to be brought back to their original size and proportion. And that was approved. It's how they wrote it.
So approved to bring back windows to original?
Well, so they, not to the original sizes. There's some windows that were reduced in size, so they want brought back to the brought back. Sorry, it's in the morning. Brought back to their original sizes, and then the vinyl windows that were installed to be replaced with an acceptable material allowed by the guidelines. So West University doesn't require that all are wood. They do allow for aluminum clad windows, but they don't allow for vinyl windows.
So it's the aluminum wood, it's the wood clad aluminum, right? Or the metal, remember how we,
Yeah, or wood windows, however you want, whatever is acceptable per their guidelines. Doesn't include vinyl windows.
okay, because we had gone over this several times, like the wording of the clad windows. I think it's
So,
clad wood, isn't it?
yeah, wood clad with aluminum. So wood on the exterior, aluminum on the exterior is allowed per West University design guidelines.
Okay. Okay, any further questions, commissioners?
This is Jan. I had one more. Were there openings that were changed that were not vinyl windows? Just to be clear,
Yeah, that's the second part. The windows that have been altered be brought back to their original size and proportion.
Okay, and then obviously not vinyl.
Yeah,
I'll
Okay,
go
thank
through
you.
each, I'll go through each window, Jan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we ready to go ahead and hear the presentation? Okay, and who's presenting? Is that you, Bill?
Bill Mackey.
Okay, go ahead.
So first off, the Chris Mooney, who's the owner of the property, apologizes for this. He didn't know that replacing these windows was what required a review by West University as well as PRS, and so he apologizes for this and just wants to go through the process accordingly with that. So let me share my screen. And so this is the document that we put together for the historic review. And so the property is located one property south of 4th Street and 6th Avenue on the east side of 6th Avenue. And you see a photograph of this property from 6th Avenue. It was a bungalow. And at some point in after the original bungalow was built, there was a one-story brick kind of commercial type structure built on the front of it that's actually attached to the bungalow. And here's a closer view of where it's located. And so there's that bungalow right there with the pitched roofs. And then there's that brick building that you saw on the street facade that's attached to the corner, kind of the front corner of the porch of the existing bungalow. And the development zone, you can see it's a crazy eclectic development zone with some very grandiose kind of residential architecture as well, 2 stories, multiple stories, and then some other commercial type architecture within it. And then this is the structure from the street, the west elevation. You can see back there, there's the bungalow set back from the street with the new or the more recent addition that was added onto it. This is the side of that addition with the Clint Eastwood mural. And then there's the side of the bungalow, the south side of the bungalow there. And then here's a closer view of that south of the bungalow from the property, inside the property. Otherwise, there's a large parking lot in front of it. And then going around the building, more of the south elevation. And then here's the east elevation, which was an enclosed porch at some point that has a couple doors on it. And then the north elevation of the bungalow, and then the north elevation here of the brick building. And so you can see how the brick building attaches to the bungalow. They kind of just slammed it right up to the gable and kind of midway through that at the ridgeline. And so going through, basically all the wood windows were deteriorated, and the Chris Mooney, the owner, replaced those, and he replaced those with vinyl double hung. The wood windows that were there were wood double hung, 1/1 windows. No, there were no mutton bars or mullions or anything. It's just the clear glass over clear glass. Just your standard kind of Tucson 1920s, 1930s wood window, and he replaced that with the vinyl. And in some windows he didn't replace. and then in 2 cases, he modified the size, and we'll go through each one. So this is a window that's on the porch, that faces the street, that's, set back inside the porch, and there's a vinyl window there. The front door wasn't touched. There's a window right here that wasn't touched, and then the 2 windows along the brick building were not replaced. They're just your standard wood double hung. So that's kind of the view of the building, of the old bungalow building, and then the north side of the brick add-on. And then the north side of the house, which isn't very visible from the street, you can see that these 2 windows here, they were the typical double hung size that the rest of the building has, and he replaced that with a heightened sill, because there were air conditioning units there, and so they created a lot of damage, and so he just kind of rebuilt the walls in that area and raised the sill up and put in these horizontally proportioned vinyl fixed picture windows. It's also a kitchen on the interior, and so it made the space utilization much better for the interior side. And then the 3 other windows that march down the north facade towards the east were not replaced. And then on the west elevation, there were 2 windows at the north side of the west elevation that were not replaced. And then there were 3 windows on the southern portion of the east facade that were replaced. And unlike with the bungalow with the masonry walls, and they kept the brick mold, the basic window frame that the double hung window sashes fit into, and they just put the vinyl into that. But with this, it was, you can see even with the wood double hung windows, fitting a wood double hung window in that thin wall is a little tight, and so that all the frames and everything were kind of removed, and so the vinyl windows sit in the wall in that way, which is not too dissimilar from the way that the wood windows sit in the wall there. They have that screen in front of it. And then on the south elevation, so you can see these replaced vinyl double hung windows, and they kept all the brick mold and all the window frames there and just placed the vinyl double hung inside that. And then there's a little back corner of the brick addition where they replaced the door, and they replaced the window that was above that door. It was a wood fixed picture window, and now it's a vinyl fixed picture window. You can see this window here. And then finally on the street facade, there was this door 620 underneath the 626 that was a wood 1/1 single hung window, and he removed the brick below that and put in a door, and then provided a little bit of a stucco detail around the opening. The door to the left of that remained, and then there was an overhead garage door in this large opening here and basically put an infill wall in with stucco with a graphic on it. And so, I mean, well, let's go through it. So this project is mildly complicated, right? Because one, it's a zoning violation. The guy's done the work and he did it with materials that West University doesn't allow. And he also changed openings. The two windows on the north facade were modified because of interior space utilization. And then he also changed the door on the main facade, the window to a door on kind of the main brick facade on 6th Avenue. And so, like, if I were going to do this project as an architect without the zoning violation originally, and Chris came to me and said, I want to do these changes, I might come to you guys for a courtesy review to talk about this. In particular, in the historic property inventory form, the brick addition, it's pretty funny. It says the physical description of the building: 1-story stone foundation, brick walls, tan stucco surface, brown trim, hip and gable roof, green roofing roll, 2 chimneys, good condition, architectural integrity ruined by added red brick attached wing on south side, now beauty shop. And so, like, that opens up the door of, like, so is this property contributing or not? I mean, it's still contributing, but right here on the historic property inventory form, it basically says the property's been ruined by this addition. And so I just bring that up as, like, what do we do with that as an architect, as a community, as a committee, as a historic preservation officer? Do you go to SHPO? Do you talk about this? What's going on? That would be question number 1. And then question number 2 is vinyl windows. And I know, like, you know, I know every local district has kind of the trump card, but there's also other ways of looking at it. And I just want to bring up that, like, if this was a Secretary of Interior project that was going for tax credits, where the federal government and the state government organizations need to look at this, vinyl windows might be okay, not on the primary facade. That you can use alternative materials for windows on secondary facades, like the north facade, like the west facade, or sorry, the east facade and the south facade. Like maybe the west facade right there that's underneath the porch, the Secretary of Interior would say, you know, do like for like, wood for wood, or you could possibly do metal clad over wood, but probably not. Like that would be, you know, a tax credit thing that we would have to negotiate. And so that whole thing comes up, and I am a little concerned about this negation of vinyl windows for the community, because it's expensive to do this work, and vinyl windows are very cost effective, and they're things that people can afford. And I really question if from the street you can see that vinyl windows have been used instead of wood windows. I mean, when you talk about vinyl windows, they talk about the slides being darker color, or they talk about the joints being different when you look at Secretary of Interior stuff for tax credits. But these windows aren't that. They have white glides. All the joints are kind of similar to what a painted wood window would look like. And so I really want us to open up that door. And when we had this discussion with West University, it was all about maintenance, and that vinyl windows fall apart faster and they warp or whatever. But, you know, as an architect that's been working in Tucson, Arizona, in the Southwest desert for 30 years, wood windows do that too. And they fall apart. And right here is a case of that example. Like, Chris had to replace every single wood window because it fell apart, because of either water, of drying out really quickly, or from sun damage. And then the final thing on the west elevation of the kind of non-contributing ruined part of the project, the door replacing the window, I think, is a pretty standard operation that we've been doing. I've been doing it on historic buildings that are, that have contributing facade. Even in the Chicago store, we took arched openings and brought them down to the ground for a door opening to be allowed into that. And West University didn't have an issue with us changing that opening. And then the garage door opening, I think, is pretty standard issue as well. We're still differentiating the opening from the wall. So like you understand that was once a garage door opening still today by looking at it, because it's a stucco, different material basically. And so, I guess the big things I look at this as the architect and somebody that deals with historic preservation are, yes, the materiality. And I think it's a larger discussion about the vinyl windows. And number two is those changed window sizes on the north facade here at that kitchen, that I more than likely would not advise a client to do something like that, but I would take it to a courtesy review to discuss. It's on a secondary facade. It's barely visible or not visible from the street. There's another building that's right here close up to it. So there's a very narrow view angle to that. And so I would just, that would be part of the process for that piece.
Bill, this is Terry. I just wanted to point out that you had made the same presentation to West University in September, and I just want to remind Plans Review members that the items on the agenda are the replacement of eight windows and a garage door. They're not, talking about the eligibility of the property, the contributing status of it, or anything like that, or the use of vinyl windows, etc. And basically, we have to review this as if it were the work hasn't been done, right?
Yeah,
So I want to
I
remind
understand
you
that.
Yeah.
But I do bring up the vinyl material because you guys can have a different opinion about materials than Western University.
No,
because
I understand that, and I appreciate that, but I want to know, I just want commissioners to know that this has come up. You had presented this to West University, and they defined their review as being, looking at it as if it was, the work hasn't been done. So
And there-
basically, yeah.
And there definitely was a debate that occurred for a period of time during that review. And I'm sure it's been recorded. This is obviously puts you in a bad situation. It puts the owner in a bad situation. It puts everybody in this uncomfortable thing where a lot of money's been spent, and the historic review boards are going to ask the owner basically to spend more money. And it's very unfortunate, right?
Well,
It's unfortunate, but it's also not our fault that he
No.
went ahead and didn't do his due diligence for
Right.
the
Right.
reviews he had to do.
No, and he totally understands that and apologizes for it.
Right, and Bill,
I'm
we
not
make
trying to
recom-
convince you of
Right.
anything.
and we make recommendations, and it's up to the director to make a decision. And so I think we need to really go back to that. From the minutes from West University, it's clear that they discussed it, but it's allowing this would be precedent setting, and everyone's very concerned about that. And
Understand.
yeah, so I think are we ready for questions from commissioners now?
Yes.
Okay, who would like to go first?
This is Jan. I'll start. Bill, actually, I think you made a point that the discussion of the vinyl windows is really part of a larger discussion. And it seems like that's a discussion to be had with West University or the other historic districts about their standards. Because this is a distinct review from the national eligibility review. So I guess personally, I don't think this is the place for that. I feel comfortable having that larger discussion. I know in the past, West University didn't talk about it. I understand your issue of utility on the north facing windows. Those windows do seem out of place. In the past, we have recommended essentially the double hung, and this was, I believe, in a violation, a similar situation on Speedway. We recommended that the double hung window be put back in, but be blacked out or on the lower half, so you retain the utility. And I don't know what others think about something like that. And other than that, I am personally comfortable with West University's recommendation.
Can I say one thing?
Let me, Mr. Moody, let me call on you after commissioners have their say,
Yeah.
okay? And I'll call back on you. Okay, other commissioners?
This is Carol. I think I agree with Jan, and I did want to clarify too. I know that, Bill, you had mentioned the tax credits. The federal tax credits are for commercial buildings, not for residential use. So I'm not quite sure if that's being confused with the property tax reduction, which is offered by the state, which is a different,
No,
yeah,
It's-
they
I'm
are
just-
two different programs, yeah.
this is a commercial building. And I'm not confusing. I'm just talking about, different ways of
Interpreting, yeah.
interpreting it, and like I set the tax credit at a pretty high bar, having gone through a few projects and working with, because you're working directly with the Secretary of Interior, and their document is what we all kind of abide by. They're what all the local codes use as a reference. And so that, the documentation that they have about windows is what I said is, like that primary facade is very important. And then as you secondary facades, there can be material changes, and the federal government does allow vinyl. That's all I was saying. And that's part of that larger discussion that we don't want to discuss. Like we need a different platform for that probably than this tiny little project, right?
And some of the historic districts, because they set their own guidelines. So, it is true that some of them do have just front facades, but in West University, they do not. So we have to review this, based on what they're looking at in terms of their.
Well, no, I actually disagree with that. I think you're another body, and you have your land use code guidelines to work with. I know you need to respect West University's guidelines, but you can as a group have a different opinion and have had different opinions in the past. So I don't want to debate that. I'm sorry if it comes off argumentative, but you are a different review agency.
We're very aware of that, Bill, and we just like to respect what we like to take into consideration,
Right.
their thoughts, and again remind you that we simply make a recommendation and the director makes a decision. And you and the owner have the opportunity to appeal the decision once it's made. So okay. Carol, do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. However, there are some precedent setting and there are other homeowners that we have been asked to change these things out. And so to make an exception in this case, you know, it is a burden on any homeowner that has to do that. We know that. But as Ricky said, it is their responsibility in a historic district to be sure that when they're doing work, that it does meet what the standards are for that particular, or the guidelines set up by that particular district. So.
All right. Okay, thank you, Carol. Ricky?
I'm going to agree with Carol and Jan on everything that they say. I'm not against that suggestion that Jan had for like the half blackout, so it still maintains utility. And yeah, I understand the vinyl thing and the concept of pricing. I know we don't look at pricing, but inherently these are like pretty expensive houses that people are already buying, and you know, going into a historic neighborhood that you're going to have some additional requirements there. So is it really unfortunate that they tend to be more expensive requirements? Like, yes, but that's also something that you know you're getting into when you buy in a historic neighborhood with a house that's over 100 years old. Those are just my comments.
Yeah, thank you. Joel?
Yeah, hi. I guess I have an overriding question that we've touched on a little bit. Do we know at all or have any history about why West University has the prohibition of vinyl windows in their guidelines? I mean, we've heard it was a maintenance issue. Is there any other reasoning behind that anybody knows of? Anybody?
I think it's everyone has, I don't think any of the districts allow vinyl windows. Is that correct, Jody?
That's correct. And it's,
And-
yeah, it's typically the way that vinyl windows have been set up, you know, not to say or anything like that, but historically they have had kind of a different look to them, where they kind of showcase as when you're looking at a double hung window where the upper sash stands proud of the lower sash. Vinyl windows tended to have more of a flat look to them. And then their rails and stiles tended to have a kind of a differentiated look rather than the blocky look of what a wood window tends to look like. So they have just not been something that has been accepted. I would say that probably for the last like 10 years, maybe 10 or 15 years, they've started to kind of think about other options where now you're starting to see like the metal clad where it's wood in the interior and metal on the exterior. So there has been definitely a shift. It's not a quick shift, it's a slow moving shift. But for sure, I think that there's been some acceptance of other materials. And they did in maybe 2015 or so, West University went and actually reevaluated a lot of different window types to allow them in. I think they even might allow fiberglass for that look. But really, it should be dependent on the look of the window, how it compares to the historic wood windows, rather than when you get down to it, it really should just depend on the look. Because there's definitely some windows out there that don't replicate wood at all. But at this time, they don't allow vinyl in their design guidelines. And it may be something that they reevaluate in the future.
Right, because if you remember, they did come to us when we were pre-COVID, when we were still meeting in person, and we actually saw examples, and they had done a fairly thorough study. And then if you look at the motion that Turner made, replaced with an acceptable material allowed in the guidelines. So, you know, there are more options than just strict wood, right?
Correct.
So, okay. So,
And my question was really relating to the last comment, Jody, that you made, which is depending on the look of the thing, because a couple of these vinyl windows, to my eye, look just exactly like the wooden ones would look. But then a couple of them that are flat, you're absolutely right. They're terrible. I mean, and so I understand it there. So and I'm also kind of struggling with the issue of, kind of the innocent mistake as opposed to, an intentional. I mean, if which I believe this was an innocent mistake, but could lead people to think, well, I'll just go ahead and put them in and ask for forgiveness later. And we don't want to get in that circle, certainly, even though I believe in my heart this is an innocent mistake. But yeah, okay, those are my comments. Thanks.
okay, thanks, Joel. Savannah?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just a few clarifying questions. The addition that happened to the west, I mean, is that, so that's considered a contributing part of the property? Can't.
It's hard to tell from the inventory form, right? It's like,
Yeah,
there is this, it's one of a collection of bungalows in the area. And it's contributing to the character of the historic district. And and that's even like blank, it's like, it looks like it got taped over, like I'm very suspect about this property being a contributing property. When a physical description says that something is ruined by something that's been added, I really would guess that it should be non-contributing at that point. And so that's, I put this in here because I put this in, we're required to put this information in our documents. And if this was a courtesy review of like, what kind of windows can we use? Because in West University, if it's not a contributing property, you can use steel windows. I mean, that's what I've done on some other construction. So, like, how do we review this?
well, I guess I was curious too about that. I mean, that's become the front elevation of the property. So when West University said they want everything put back the way it was originally, it just seems to me that maybe that's an exception in my mind.
It's an anomaly,
So were their comments, I mean, it wasn't super clear to me by reading them, that any of this facade needed to be put back?
No,
the original
the
big
garage,
window?
the stucco's fine, the door's fine.
Okay.
All that's
okay.
fine. Their motion was replace the wood double hungs and put the size of those kitchen windows back to what they were.
Okay.
And there was,
Okay.
I mean, there was some discussion on like, the other, like we'll do the kitchen windows and we'll replace that one window on the porch to wood double hung, but leave the rest vinyl. And there was some discussion like, well, maybe that, and then they just said no. Because of precedent, and I understand, I've sat on this board, like I understand the decision you make is going to have an impact on other projects and properties. So it's very clear to me.
Yeah, so again, the motion from West University said, the vinyl windows are to be replaced with an acceptable material allowed in the guidelines, as well as the windows that have been altered to be brought back to their original size and proportion. So that's what that said. So Savannah, did you have something else?
No, I mean, I think that's it. That's clear to me. The other just point I wanted to bring up was the altered windows and the precedent that we've set previously on a similar project where there was a kitchen on the inside, right, where the countertop is higher than the sill, these historic sills being pretty low in some cases. And I think there was other circumstances to that project too, with regard to what was happening on the exterior of the building. But I think we approved, bumping up that sill 6 inches or something just to get up above countertop height too, which I think is reasonable alteration. I mean, still with the double hung and the general proportions matching the original. But if the sill needed to move up 6 inches, I think that would be, I don't know, it seems reasonable to me as well. But I do like that the blackout option is also worthy of consideration.
Bill, could you show that one, those windows again, those small ones?
Do those match the one just down, it goes all the way down there, which is likely below a countertop, yeah.
So any more questions on that?
But we could probably look at the sill height of these on that enclosed porch part. And see how that matches with like a kitchen counter.
It looks like it, would that solve your problem?
Yeah.
I would consider that if other commissioners are open
No, I know,
to it.
I know there's solutions to this. I've had a couple projects go in front of you
Yeah,
guys.
okay.
You've done the same things.
Yeah. Okay, let me call on the owner if he wanted to say a few words before we continue our discussion. Are you still there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Well, first off, I would like to say that I am very sorry. I want to fix this. I do want to be, I've been a good member of West University neighborhood for over 20 years. And how I actually acquired the building is we bought 650, that large building just north of that property. And we remodeled that. When we bought it, it was basically bombed out, people that were living there was going to be burned down. We brought it back up to standards and did everything. But I did that with my partner. He was an older gentleman and he took over the construction project, everything. I was just a partner in the business with him. And it's actually owned by DigiBoy, it's an LLC. So when he retired last year, he got Parkinson's and retired right around 2020, we had the COVID stuff. And we owned the property next door. We bought that in 2001. And the building was in very poor condition, but we didn't have any money to put into it. So when he retired and we sold 650, I finally had a little bit of money to put into this property. And I did not know, I knew it was historical, but I'm a photographer. And I photograph properties for people, in tax purposes. They have to send in their tax to show the front of the property looks the same, and they would require that type photograph. So I was truly unaware that, I needed to have wood windows in there. I acquired the property from my business partner, and I did not know, and I want to fix this. But I truly, if I can go back to those days, I would definitely have done the wood windows and not changed them. I definitely would have done that. But it was a situation where a business partner of 35 years is sick and has Parkinson's and leaving the business. And I'm just trying to make this property work. And I did what I could. And I'm sorry. And I just need, if you want me to fix this, I will. And I just going to need time. I mean, I've had estimates of up to $20,000 for some of these windows to replace all these windows. And for a small businessman, that's a pretty tough nut. That's a tough nut.
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Mooney. We understand that.
I want to do this right, and I want to do it. But if you give me time, I can do a window at a time, but I want to make this right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ricky, did you still have your hand up? I'm having trouble seeing.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
mine was a question for Bill, and it was just, what are the actual differences in the window size themselves for the vinyl ones that got replaced? Like the difference in the size of the window versus if it had been left as a wood window.
It's basically, so like in this elevation here,
Mhm.
just for a standard opening, it's the same. Like there's a sash and a sash and guides, and they fit in the exact frame that was there for the original windows. Like if you look like here, you see that green
Mhm.
is the frame, and then the window is the burgundy part. And so like in this instance, the cream is that original frame, and then the white is the vinyl window. You know, the detail that's different is that the vinyl windows are a little bit not as deep as a wood
Yeah.
window, and that a lot of the wood windows, let's see, like these don't like these wood windows don't have it, but some wood windows, especially from this area, have those little tails that are on the top sash.
Mhm.
But none of these have that. And like I keep going back to this like situation of like this addition on the north or on the west side, and then the enclosed porch on the east side. Like the property's no longer what it was, and the material that's in it, you know, like some of the windows are pretty shoddy too. So I mean, it just is, it brings up
Yeah.
bigger questions that I know are beyond this review.
Jody, does university allow, like, I think we have done it before, like the metal clad windows or like wood clad
Yeah,
type windows?
yeah.
they do.
University allows
They-
metal clad wood windows,
It's wood,
Armory
yeah,
Park
it's wood
does.
clad with aluminum.
but it's no cheaper.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the prices on those, unfortunately, but
It's all the same. I mean, it's a wood window with another material on it, and the
Yeah.
reason that the aluminum is there is to protect it from the sun and the rain.
This
Well,
is
and to
Carol.
minimize maintenance, yeah, truly. So, Jen had her hand up next.
Yeah, I just kind of, and Bill, you're making a case, it seems like that perhaps the front portion or the entire building's not contributing. And again, it seems like if you want to make that case, you should be having that conversation with Jody and others before our review. But trying to make a case without presenting evidence just makes it, I think, hard for us to evaluate.
But I mean, Jan, the only evidence I have is this document here. You know, like, what do you do with that?
But for whatever reason, it's still listed as contributing. So it's like, well, that was the person who happened to be filling out the form's opinion. It didn't change how it was recorded. So,
Someone approved it.
yeah, as being contributing. So all I'm saying is to try and go back and in this forum, make a determination that's not contributing.
I'm not. I'm just raising the issue. I mean,
Okay.
this is a zoning violation. So
This is Carol, and I think one of the things you could do is go back to the SHPO's office and have them take a look at this and give you a determination as to whether this is a contributing property or not. My guess is it's not.
but that
You would need that to be done by the SHPO office. And there
yes,
would have to be a change, and then you're not having to deal with, I mean.
but it's a moot point because vinyl isn't even allowed on non-contributing or new construction. Like
Okay.
vinyl is not allowed.
Oh, in their guidelines, okay.
Yeah. So it just,
Yeah.
it
But
doesn't
I
matter.
think you have a better case for it if it's not a contributor. And I have no idea what the date is on this building in the front when that was constructed. They don't have anything in the form about it, so.
Okay, I think I see Ricky hand up again, and Joel, then Joel.
Oh, mine was just, I do not know the prices for things, but I don't know, it might be worth it for you, especially since, right, we're evaluating it like the work hasn't been done, but it has been done. like maybe it might be worth it to go back to the SHPO office and like fight whatever decision comes out of the director's office. And then if you find it's non-contributing, then you could open yourself up to more options than we frankly have right now, since we have to go off of the fact that for us it is listed as contributing right now. And that might be a more worthwhile option if it is a longer process.
Right, but Ricky, it was stated just a minute ago that vinyl isn't even allowed on non-contributors.
But they do allow some other window options outside of non-contributors too that might be lower cost, because it seems like regardless, the vinyl windows that are in there now aren't going to be allowed to stand.
Okay. Okay, Joel? Joel?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't find my move button. So here, sometimes on these window issues, first I have a question. On the back porch, do we know when that addition was put on?
No,
No, I have no idea when that was.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
And I know that in some cases, we have allowed people to remove a window and put in a stucco that would preserve the notion that a window opening was there before. Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yes.
It seems to me that might be a solution to those back porch windows that look like, clearly they're vinyl flat windows, and also the kitchen windows. And I just had that thought as Savannah made her suggestion. So that's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else before we want to talk about what a motion would look like?
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Michael and Jody, I remember back in the day when people would get zoning violations, there was some sort of time associated with them. That decisions needed to be made in a certain amount of time, or that the owner had to, is there anything like that still in play? Like, do you guys have to make a decision by time? Like, and does the owner, if, let's say the owner understands that 8 windows need to be replaced and he starts replacing them, do they have to be done in a certain amount of time as well?
Yeah, Bill, I know what you're referring to. What we used to do in some cases, if there are so many windows, we will work on a replacement plan. If the owner cannot replace all of them in one shot, we just need to work with the owner on replacement plan. You can say, okay, there are 8 of them. Maybe I will replace 2 at this time. I will replace 2 at this time. But that we used to do that to just make sure that everything is done. But the owner has to, once you agree on that plan, you have to make sure that you follow it up. Because that was because we recognize that some of these things are expensive to do. And so, yes, we used to have a replacement plan with the owner. If that's what you were asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Joel, did you have your hand up? Did you have anything else? Your hand's still up?
Yeah, I forgot to put it down, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. And I just wanted to note that, so West University in their motion, they basically were okay with the garage door replacement as proposed to them in September. Is that what I'm to understand?
Yes,
Yeah, and they don't. So basically we would, yeah, okay.
And front door,
Front door
window
too.
to door.
Right,
That's
because all we have on our agenda is 8 windows and garage doors. So what are we reviewing, Jody and Michael?
Well, that door was a window. I think that's why it's maybe listed.
basically any window on the bungalow that was replaced with vinyl needs to be replaced back with a suitable material per the West University guidelines, as well as not modifying those openings.
Yeah.
At the bungalow, the modification of the door opening at the street in the brick building was accepted.
So Jody and Michael, would we also mention that we encourage development of a replacement plan?
You can.
Because we've done that in the past and that helps, you know, that would be good to get in the decision letter if that's what the director decided.
Yeah, you can include that in your motion.
Okay, so
And
who's,
Can I ask one procedural question? One more, Terry?
yes, go
Sorry.
ahead, and then we'd like to get moving on this.
I know, I'm sorry. Jody, Michael, and so like when this decision gets made today, how much time does the property owner have to appeal the thing if he so desired?
Once the decision letter is issued, from the date on that decision letter, the property owner has 4 days to file an appeal.
I'm sorry, you cut out at the number.
14
Okay,
days
thanks.
from the date of the decision letter. And there's a fee associated with an appeal, but you would have to get your appeal documents into the city clerk within that 14-day.
Okay,
And Bill, usually the legal action report is ready within less than a week and posted. You know, so our legal action report. For planning.
you know what, I thank you guys for doing this. We know this is not fun, so I just.
No, that's, I just wanted to be clear about that, and then, yeah. And so the decision letter, it's unknown if it would be ready before Thanksgiving or after, so I can't speak to that because I don't write those. So. Okay, commissioners, are we ready to discuss what a possible motion could look like? Jan or Savannah?
Well, it seems like part of what we were kicking around. Could you show that elevation on the north side again, Bill? The photo on the north side?
Yeah, it's that one.
So it seemed like we've talked about the possibility, and I think there was comfort with 2 options for replacing the small windows and returning them to either align with the 2 slightly shorter windows on the porch addition, or to extend it to match the 1 remaining window in the main building and to build out the lower half on the inside. It seemed like we talked about both of those, and not knowing for sure that the shorter window would work for the counter. It seems like it's leaving it to luck. We could, if people were comfortable, provide both options or just decide on one, or I guess there's also the stuccoing in and leaving an outline, but I'm not a real fan of that in this situation personally.
No, there's another option that I'd like to present here. On the south facade, you see this double hung window here.
Yes.
It's smaller in terms of the width compared to the large window here, and you see this large window goes down to that kind of brick molding, or stucco detail, and then this one is quite a bit higher than that. And if you look at this here, this facade, these windows aren't as wide as that, and so per Savannah, what Savannah was saying is really, use the proportions of the existing window openings to develop the sill height of these windows, and we'll make it work with a kitchen counter. That's not going to be difficult. That I would phrase, Jan, I guess I would say I'm phrasing, in lieu of potentially creating the opening down to the height of the other existing window on the north facade, you use the proportions of the windows in the building in general to create the sill height for those modified windows.
Well, I guess I'm not following you. I mean, because You're talking about changing the opening yet again, or working with the opening that was there? It's unclear.
The opening that's there, it's just the sill height. If you look at these windows, the ones that were modified,
Right,
they're not as wide as the other
Got it.
windows on the main, and so they're not going to be as tall because the
Right.
proportion, it would end up being
Yeah.
like a vertical proportion more so than any other window on the facade. So what I'll do is
except
use
they
the
were that way,
proportion.
right?
Yeah, so like we don't know what they were like, and so like it's Chris's memory that we're dealing with, and so that
Yeah,
we all know about memory, and so we'll make a proportionally correct window size. Is I would like I think that would work.
Well, and Bill, we could ask that be, that
Work
the
out with
replacement,
Jody.
that could be in the replacement plan that then Jody and Michael would look at.
yeah.
Okay, that sounds great.
I think that makes sense because, yeah. Was there someone else saying something? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No, I agree that having, having it be a replacement double hung, that then the proportions are worked out with Jody and Michael.
And stated in the replacement, that
Yeah.
all would be in the replacement plan, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Jody, Jan, would you be willing then to make a motion?
Sure. Let's see. In the matter of HPZ 22-071, 627 North 6th Avenue, replacement of 8 windows and garage door, full review of a contributing resource.
Garage door.
And garage door, it's, well, isn't it, hold on, what does
Yeah.
it say here? No,
That's-
it's garage door.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
No, you said front door.
I thought I said garage door. I apologize.
That's okay.
Garage door. Plans Review Subcommittee recommends approval of the replacement, noting that all vinyl windows are to be replaced with a material acceptable to the West, or compliant with the West University guidelines, and be brought back to their original size and proportion, with the exception being the 2 small replacement windows on the north facade, that those double hung windows, the proportion, size and proportion be worked out with the city's historic preservation officer. We also note that the garage door replacement, we recommend approval as presented, as well as the front door that replaced a window.
What about the replacement plan?
And that a replacement plan for scheduling the new windows be developed and approved by the historic preservation officer.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Carol, I'll second.
Okay, is there discussion? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry says aye. Savannah,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Joel,
Yes.
Ricky,
Aye.
Jan.
Apologies for being kind of clunky.
No, that's okay. There was a lot of issues. Okay, it passes unanimously 6-0. So, Bill, do you have any more questions? Basically, the LAR has to be done, the decision letter has to be done. And then you have a 14-day appeal period. And you could work out the development of a replacement plan and that schedule with, if you decide to go that route, and not appeal, then with Jody, correct? Jody?
Correct.
Got it.
Okay, well, thank you. And,
Thanks.
we appreciate, the thought you put into this, and we appreciate Mr. Mooney's circumstances and hope something can be worked out.
All
Well, I
right.
want to say thank you very much, everybody, for listening to me, and thank you for working with me on this.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same to you both.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's go to item 3B, which is HPZ 20057 at 1000 North Stone. This is to demolish an existing restroom building. It's a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource. And we use the rehabilitation standards. Now we have, let's see. So Jody, would you like to go ahead and give us a summary of this?
Sure. They actually came through last year. Parks and Rec came through last year as they were doing some improvements to De Anza Park, which is a contributing park to the West University Historic Zone. They were building a new restroom facility, and they were putting in a dog park, a fenced dog park area. At the time, they were not ready to tear down the existing bathroom structure. They had some, if I recall correctly, some utilities that were associated with the bathroom structure that to resolve before they tore it down. One of the items in the decision letter that stated that they were ready to tear down the bathroom structure, that they would have to come back through for review. They went to West University Historic Preservation Zone Advisory Board on Tuesday, hence why we don't have minutes yet, but they went on Tuesday and were approved for the tear down. And Tom Fisher from Parks and Rec is here to present.
So
Alrighty. Go
wait
ahead.
a second, wait. So you went, Jody, to West University on the 15th? Or it went to?
Tuesday, it's the 15th.
Okay, and they approved. And then is there also a requirement to see the replacement at this time?
You've
Or-
already seen the
All
replacement.
right, okay, so that's what you're saying. What we saw was the Danza Dog Park.
Yeah, it had, it was a bathroom and it had original stone on the exterior and some stucco. And it was in the southwest corner of the park. The new one is in the southwest corner and the existing one is in the southeast corner. Did I get that right? I'm directionally challenged.
Right, no, I
Um,
remember it. I remember it now. So, okay, so Mr. Fisher, can you tell us your position, your part in Parks and Rec?
Correct. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you again. My name is Tom Fisher. I am a project manager with the City of Tucson Parks and Recreation.
Okay, great. Go ahead and give us your presentation.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see if I can find this one. Let's see.
Huh.
Let me know when it's up.
It's up.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks again for having me on your agenda. As Jody mentioned, the last time I met with the group was, I believe it was the summer of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, and we were doing lots of Zoom meetings back then. So what I did is at the time I shared with you the master plan design concept for Anza Park. We went through a series of public in-person meetings in 2019 and then a few more in 2020 online. And if you look at the master plan concept on the left there, you'll see the dog park in the northeast corner of the park and a new restroom in the southwest corner of the park. And those were two items that were being funded at the time. And the rest of it was planned for future investments. So we came to the Historical Commission and the subcommittees for approval on the design of the dog park and design of the new restroom and plans to demo the old 1954 restroom when we were ready to do that. So the map on the left, that's an aerial that just shows the two restrooms. The new restroom, which is built, the dog park is built. The new restroom was just completed last month. And I'll get in a couple other pictures here. So at this point, we're ready to demo the old restroom with your approval. So here is a slide showing a picture of the new restroom in the upper left, upper right, and then the old restroom for comparison in the lower right. So the new restroom, like I said, we just completed it a couple weeks ago, and it did go through the historic review process. That structure there is almost identical to what we shared with you, what you approved back in 2020. And the old restroom, a little bit of history in that, I'm sure some of you know, it's been a magnet for trouble for the past 40 years. And it did get out of control about 2 years ago. There was prostitution, there was drug dealing, very serious drug dealing. TPD actually busted the kingpin who was dealing drugs in 3 different parks, and one of them was this park right here. Now it's down to just some minimal activity. But the neighborhood's been very concerned about it because it is a hiding place for criminals and for others who are just loitering and doing some minor, continuing to do some graffiti and other minor vandalism. TPD is ready to see this building gone so they have better visibility through the park. As Jody mentioned, the Historical Commission issued a decision letter back, it was December 2020, that said, when you are ready to demo the structure, please come back to the Historical Commission and the subcommittees. So that's why we're here today. I did submit the standard demo application in September and then the historic demo application in October. Jody and Michael do have that. We have our contractor, we retained our contractor, Durazo Construction. They completed the new restroom and they're going to do the demo work on the old restroom. So here is a picture of the new restroom, just in case you haven't seen it up close. This is about as clean as you'll ever see it because it's already been tagged a few times and been pretty messy inside. But our park staff is on top of it, and it's built really well. It has magnetic doors on it, magnetic locks that are on a timer, and so the restrooms actually lock at 10:30 p.m. and open at 6 a.m. per the same hours of the park. Regarding the old restroom, we do have a historic document that shows the sort of the history of the whole park. It was written by some individuals with the Arizona Historical Society, and within that document, it does show that there were a few improvements that were completed in 1954. This one was listed as one of those improvements completed then. It's a red brick, double red brick structure, 16 feet long, 12 feet wide, a little over 10 feet high at the peak. And there are 4 separate restrooms, believe it or not. There's 2 men's restrooms at the southern end and 2 identical women's restrooms at the northern end. And then there is there's a middle chase room that's divided in half. One is the electrical room, and then one is the mechanical room where we house all the irrigation equipment for the park. And that was the reason that we could not demo the structure right away, because the irrigation equipment was still active up until a couple months ago. We moved everything over. I shouldn't say we moved it over. We replaced the irrigation equipment. It's all brand new. It's the new restroom structure. We did have to reroute the water and electric from this structure over to the new one. So that's all been done. And we did our, let's see, we did our asbestos removal. I think I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, we did the asbestos removal. So it's ready to go. Here are some photos of the east and the west sides of the structure. You can see that they've held up over the years, but the structurally the building is okay, but aesthetically it's in pretty bad shape. The doors are the side doors are still functional. The restroom doors are very difficult to get open. They've been kicked in over the years by vandals, and so let's see, we're hoping that we can remove this structure with your approval. Here is a picture on the left of the electrical room. There's really nothing in there that Parks wants to salvage other than these two breaker boxes. The picture in the middle is of one of the restrooms. There's nothing in there that we can use to install in any of our existing restrooms. And then the photo on the right, that's of the electrical room. I'm sorry, the mechanical room. That's just the electrical junction box up top. We are salvaging an old pump and an antenna from the top of the structure. You can see the antenna on the outside. But other than that, we would really like to remove this structure from the park. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Go ahead. Carol, do you have anything?
No, I mean, it's unfortunate that this couldn't have been some sort of adaptive reuse with this or somehow rehabbed. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, Savannah?
Yeah, I'm sort of with Carol. It is kind of disappointing that this couldn't be updated, but I guess I get it, so.
Joel?
You know, Savannah and Carol, the first thing that occurred to me is it's a shame the building's got to go. See, it's a nice little building in my neighborhood here. But, you know, what are you going to do?
Okay, Ricky?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, who did I miss? Jan?
Yeah, I'm kind of with everybody else. I just had one question for Jody, or I guess two. One, just to clarify that the building itself is actually contributing, and then if it is, if they've done sufficient documentation before the demo.
So the period of significance for University ends in 1930, and this was constructed
Okay.
after that. But they have provided, so the park, all the park is contributing, but this building falls outside of the period of significance for the district, and I would contributing element to the park. The documentation that they provided is sufficient. You actually have a copy of it. That's what I uploaded to the website.
Right, so I'm just curious, why is it in the agenda item, is it listed as contributing?
Because the park is contributing.
Okay, that would have been helpful just as a reminder in the, you know.
That's why I was asking for clarification, because that confused me, sorry.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I don't have any further questions. Is someone ready to make a motion? You know, you might want to mention whoever makes the motion that that, you know, we understand that it's non-contributing, but that documentation has been done and so on. Okay, who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. This is Joel. Move that the demolition go forward as presented, and that, what did you want me to mention?
With the understanding that it's a non-contributing
With the
element of
understanding that
work
it's a non-contributing building,
and that it's been documented,
and that's been documented.
and that the building has been documented.
Yes, that the building's been documented. That's my motion.
Okay, thank you. Who would second that?
I'll go
This
ahead.
is Ricky. I'll second.
Okay, I've got Joel and Ricky then. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll vote aye. Ricky?
Aye.
Joel?
Yes,
Oh,
Carol?
sorry.
Carol?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Okay, so it demolition is recommended for approval 6-0. Okay, do you have any questions, Mr. Fisher?
No, I don't. Appreciate your time this morning and look forward to a completed and safer park here.
Okay, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item 4 then, which is Task Force on Inclusivity Report Recommendations. Item 4A is discussion on best practices for naming of city and county-owned physical assets. I was unable to work on the revisions because I am not feeling well, and the last LAR took a lot longer than I thought because of the courtesy review. So, but the good news is that we can get a revision ready for review at our next meeting, which is December 8th. That's the plan. So basically, I would like Carol and Ricky to email me with their availability through next week. And hopefully I will feel up to dealing with those extensive revisions before then. So any questions or comments on that?
Let's see, Terry, next week, can we push it to the following week? I mean, next week is Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, if you want to just email me
And
separately
you're
with,
still sick, so I was wondering if maybe we want to get it for the 8th, but that might not give enough time.
well, I tell you what, why don't you just send me your thoughts via email and we'll stay in touch, because I don't know what people's plans are for the holiday and so forth, but
Yeah.
I
so-
doubt I would be able to work on it until next week anyway.
Okay. But I was thinking maybe the week of the 28th.
Wait a minute.
When do we have to have something done in order to submit it in time for everyone to see it for the general meeting in December?
Well, I think at least several days before, when you say, Jody?
For the which meeting? For the full
For the
commission meeting?
December 8th.
For the December 8th meeting? I mean, you guys, I try to post everything at least a week in advance for you, but I typically haven't been posting the inclusivity report.
Yeah, yeah, and I think if it were at least, 3 or 4 days earlier, send it to Pima County. And the thing is that I'm required to have the draft agenda for the December, I think it's December 14th, right?
Yeah.
Full commission, yeah, the full commission is December 14th. I would have to have that in by the 1st but they work on it for a week and they won't post it. The earliest they would post it is the 7th or 8th. So basically we would need to vote on it, and I would just email it to everybody on the full commission via blind CC. So I can push that. It just needs to be on the agenda if we think we can get it done. So that's the goal, but let's look at Thanksgiving's gonna hold things up. I'm also gonna need to work on the LAR for this current meeting that we're having right now. And I don't know, Jody and Michael, what are your plans for next week?
How do you mean? Working?
Working? Okay, and Michael, you too?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll get this done. Okay, let's move on to item 5 then, current issues for information discussion. 5A is minor reviews. Michael?
Yes, I did discuss the minor reviews that we did last week. I have 3 minor reviews that are pending, and I will need somebody to volunteer for that. And they are all US University. And those reviews, I am doing them in person. So whoever volunteers will have to come out on. The first one is at 532 East First Street, which is a solar panel installation. The second one is 341 East First Street, which is a condenser unit. And then the third one is 207 East University, which is a solar panel installation.
Okay, Michael, let me ask you that the second one was 341 East First.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want to volunteer now, or just you'll work that out with whoever's interested or able to do it?
Terry, I'm willing to look at the West University ones. This is Joel.
Okay, Joe, thanks. I will contact you for the date and time.
Thank you, Michael.
And Joel,
Welcome.
what's the best way to contact you so that you can respond?
Email, really.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So none has been done since we had the last meeting on the, whatever it was, the 10th.
No, none has been done.
Okay,
I reported on the 5 that were done last time with Jan. After that, I've not done any. These are the new ones that are coming up for next week.
great, thank you. Okay, item 5B is appeals.
We do not have any pending appeal at this point in time, except if Mr. Mackey decides to appeal the decision based on what he was inquiring from the meeting today.
Okay. Item 5C is zoning violations.
We, as we continue to say, they are ongoing, but at this point in time, we have 2 of the zoning violation cases, mainly in Amory Park, that we're working on. They should be going to Amory Park review, and then they will come to you. The 327 East 13th Street, which is for the fence, and there is one at 119 East 16th Street. This one is a front door. Apparently on this one, when they first came up, the real estate agent came full permit and wanted to sell the property and encounter a zoning violation, but found a way to sell the property without actually being the violation. So when I scheduled it last time for review, I called the real estate agent, who was the applicant at the time, and she informed me that the property has been sold. And so she has no intent of doing anything to this. I have forwarded the case to Rick Sarate, who is helping us with the zoning violation. As soon as Rick gets something on it, then I'll be able to know where we go from there. Those are the 2 that I know that Rick is working on them at this point in time.
Okay.
Hey, Michael, this is Jan. I had a question about that because, as you know, that was kind of looped in for our minor review last week.
Yes.
Would that, I mean, taking out a front door, is that really a minor review or should that be a full review?
Well, door changes, window replacement of doors and windows are usually minor reviews.
Even when it's removed? Okay.
Yes, they
Okay.
usually windows, doors, fences, those are, we
Okay.
typically do them as minor review, except we get to the field and then whoever is there is not comfortable doing it as a minor review, then we can do it as a full review.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because that was a new one for me.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Item 5D is review process issues. Does anyone want to raise anything?
The only thing I would like to say on this is that, of course, I think last time Jody talked about this, that we have changed into, the city has changed into a permitting system. It basically doesn't change any of our review processes. You will still do your review as you usually do. It is just an application that changes, but you still have to go through the review process as you are doing right now.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, are all of our minor reviews going to be in person now, or does it just happen to be that one that you had talked about?
No, this is just a special case because we have cases that are pending and we are trying to get into the new permitting system. So I was exceptionally allowed to do them in person just so that they become far. It is not that they are all going to be in person from now going forward. No, this was just
Okay.
a special dispensation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So the 3 pending are special dispensation.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. All righty, item 6 is summary of public comments. Were any received by the deadline, Jody?
We did not receive any public comments.
Thank you. Okay, item 7 is future agenda items. Could you summarize that? Our next meeting is December 8th.
We will likely have 520 East 4th, which was the West University project. 808 South 4th Avenue, which is Armory Park. And then we potentially have Hotel back on for a formal review and
was it?
potential.
Which one?
They call it Milagro.
Oh, yeah,
on-
okay.
Yeah. I refuse and I call it No Tell Motel because that's a much better name, but whatever. And then potentially Zebens, which is on Broadway within the Sunshine Mile overlay.
What was that again? Zebens?
Sorry, I'm a little stuffed up. Zemens, Z-E-M-N-S. Potentially.
Z-E-M-A-N-S
Yeah,
in
the Sunshine Mile overlay.
Sunshine Mile,
Sunshine
sorry.
Mile National Register Historic District.
Okay, but that's possibly.
Yeah, both of those last two are possibly.
Okay,
Jody, we also have 833 North 4th from University. It's one of those projects that went to West University on the 15th with Marcelo's.
Yeah, we're still working that out, but yes, potentially.
well, stay in touch about that because yeah, it could be a long meeting. But it is what it is. Okay, any other questions, commissioners, about future agenda items? Okay, and then before we
Terry,
adjourn,
this is Joel, our next scheduled meeting of this plans review subcommittee is December 8th.
yes,
Correct.
Thank you.
That's our regularly scheduled meeting. So it'll be back at 1 p.m.
Good deal. Thanks.
and does everybody right now feel that they have availability?
I do.
Believe so.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really helpful if you do respond to Jody when she sends out the materials for the meeting to please let her know. But right now, we'll assume that all can attend, right?
Michael will likely not be at that meeting, just so you know.
Okay, but you all can be there. That would be helpful. Okay,
Yes, this is Joel. Yes.
all right. So Jody, before I adjourn, be sure to send me the link for this meeting and I have a full day of HSRC tomorrow. Obviously, I can't attend it in person in Phoenix. So it's going to be grueling, like it's a very long meeting, hours and hours on either the phone or some other link. So, okay, so anyway, I will go ahead and adjourn at 10:37, and I thank everyone for their time. and for this special time. So
Thank
have a
you.
good weekend.
And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Same
Thank
to
you, you
yes,
too.
yeah, take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.